Welcome to the channel. Here, we bring stories to life, tales that inspire, touch the heart, and sometimes challenge the mind. If you love powerful storytelling and short films that keep you thinking long after they end, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss a story. Now, let's begin today's journey. The mansion was more than a home to Chica. It was a glittering kingdom that seemed to mock him with every golden handle and polished floor. Though Lady Amara had reluctantly accepted him under her roof, and Daniel clung to him as a brother, Chica could not silence the restless fire that burned inside his chest. The first time he touched the carved railing of the grand staircase, his fingers lingered longer than they should have, not in or but in calculation. Each jewel-encrusted vase, each chandelier, each velvet curtain whispered possibilities. Gratitude was the mask he wore, a smile for Daniel, a respectful nod for Lady Amara, but beneath it, greed coiled like a serpent. It was not enough that he was no longer starving. It was not enough that he was clothed and schooled. He wanted more. He wanted everything. The ghost of his father's voice returned in these moments, hissing in his memory. The world belongs to those who take it, not those who wait to be given scraps. That voice, mixed with the gleam of wealth that surrounded him, grew louder each day until Chica no longer saw the mansion as a gift. He saw it as a prize waiting to be claimed. The servants noticed first. Their whispers carried doubt, even malice, about the street boy who had wormed his way into Lady Amara's house. He doesn't belong here, some sneered. Others muttered that the mansion's dignity was stained by his presence. But Chica was not wounded by their contempt. He fed on it. Every insult was another reason to rise higher than them, to prove that one day, he would not just live among them but rule over them. He began to observe with more than curiosity. He studied. He memorized the rotation of the guards, the way keys jangled on the head servant's belt, the hours when the kitchen staff smuggled food into their aprons. Where Daniel saw life's routines, Chica saw vulnerabilities. His mind mapped the mansion like a thief's manual, not because he planned to steal in the night, but because his heart whispered that someday it would all be his. Love for Daniel softened him at times, yes, but even in those moments of laughter, greed whispered, why be satisfied as his brother when you can be his master? The first hints of danger arrived in the form of letters. Crude messages slipped through the gates by unseen hands. Debts remain unpaid, one read. Blood never forgets, said another. Lady Amara hid them, burning some, locking others away, but Chica watched her every reaction with careful eyes. Her trembling hands, her sudden glances at him, her long silences, he stored them like treasures, clues to a larger game. Deep down, he knew these warnings were not only for Amara but for him. They were reminders of the blood he carried, of the debts his father left behind. To Daniel, the letters were frightening but distant, just shadows on paper. To Chica, they were both threat and opportunity. If men wanted the mansion, then it meant the mansion had power worth fighting for. And if the world believed that power was his to inherit through blood and cunning, why should he resist? As he lay in his bed at night, staring at ceilings painted with gold, the whisper of greed grew so loud it drowned out every prayer of gratitude. You are no guest here, Chica, it said. You are an heir. Act like one. School sharpened the hunger already gnawing at Chica's soul. Walking through the academy gates beside Daniel, he carried himself with pride, but behind his steady gaze lay a storm of envy. Daniel had always belonged here. Chica had clawed his way back from the streets. When the other children mock him, calling him a street rat, a thief's son, an intruder in fine clothes, their words did not humiliate him. They inflamed him. He clenched his fists not because of pain but because of desire. Each sneer carved deeper into his determination to prove that he was more than Daniel's shadow. In class, he pushed himself harder than anyone, excelling in lessons, dazzling teachers with answers that Daniel sometimes struggled to give. Every success felt like a step closer to the throne he imagined in his mind. Greed made him sharper, harder, hungrier. He was not content to be a rescued boy. He wanted to be greater than Daniel. Greater even than Lady Amara, the mistress of the house. The mansion, with all its golden history, should not be a place where he was tolerated. It should be his dominion. But greed rarely hides its face for long. One afternoon, when cruel boys at the academy spat venom about his father, Chica snapped. Your father was a thief, they taunted. Everyone knows he betrayed Daniel's father. You're nothing but his cursed blood. Chica's chest heaved, rage swelling inside him. But then his voice broke free, sharp as a blade. My father may have died in shame, But one day I will stand in the house your fathers only dream of. One day, all of this will be mine." He hadn't known Lady Amara was near enough to hear. The words hit her like a strike, confirming the suspicion she had buried deep. That night, she sat alone, trembling, her mind replaying his vow again and again. Was this boy she had taken in out of duty and reluctant compassion secretly planning to strip her of everything? Pride urged her to throw him out, but fear whispered that it might already be too late. Greed had revealed itself in Chica's voice, and Amara's heart hardened with dread. Daniel, however, saw things differently, until the night he stumbled upon Chica's secret. Passing his brother's room, he heard a low murmur. Curious, he peeked through the slightly open door. By candlelight, Chica sat at his desk, his eyes burning with intensity, his hand sketching notes of the mansion's treasures, its weak points, even Lady Amara's daily habits. "One day," he whispered to himself, "this will all be mine. It has to be." Daniel's blood ran cold. He wanted to shout, to storm in and demand answers, but his heart broke at the thought of betrayal. Chica, his brother, his friend, the one who had saved him from loneliness, was being consumed by something darker. That night Daniel lay awake, torn between love and fear. He said nothing the next morning, smiling through their games and studies, but in his chest a seed of doubt grew. He began to wonder if the brother he adored was slowly slipping away into something greedier, something hungrier, something dangerous. The mansion's nights were growing darker, heavy with unease. Guards whispered about shadows moving just beyond the gates, about cloaked figures whose footsteps never left a trail. Lady Amara, though outwardly proud, tightened her patrols and locked her doors earlier each evening. But inside Chica's heart, the real battle was not against the shadows beyond, it was against the shadow within. For as much as he tried to bury it, greed had taken root in him. It was not the simple desire to be safe, nor the longing for love that Daniel so freely gave. It was sharper, hungrier, an insatiable voice that whispered whenever his eyes traced the chandeliers or the golden banisters, "This could all be yours. This should all be yours." Poverty had once gnawed at his stomach, now wealth gnawed at his soul. The more he tasted of the mansion's luxuries, the more he resented that he did not own them. To Daniel, he was a brother. To Lady Amara, a reluctant son. But in his own heart, greed kept whispering that he was meant for something greater, not a guest at the table, but master of the feast. The shadows knew his weakness. One evening, as the courtyard lay silent beneath a pale moon, a masked figure stepped out from the darkness, his voice low and cutting. "You are your father's son," he said, tossing a pouch heavy with coins at Chica's feet. The clinking of silver struck Chica's ears like music, sweet and poisonous. "Your father owed us, but you can pay. You live in their house now, but it could all belong to you. Help us. Open the way. And we will see that you inherit what should have been yours all along." The words wrapped around Chica like chains and wings at once, promising both freedom and power. His breath quickened, not with fear, but with desire. The coins on the ground seemed to glow, and in them he saw more than silver. He saw the power to silence the servant's sneers, to humble Lady Amara's pride, to rise above Daniel not as brother but as lord. Greed swelled inside him, louder than his conscience, sharper than the memory of hunger. He wanted the mansion. He wanted the wealth. And for the first time, he admitted it to himself without shame. But the cost of greed is never hidden for long. The man's blade pressed against Chica's chest, forcing the boy's decision. "Choose now," the voice hissed. "Join us, and all this will be yours. Refuse, and you die with them." At that moment, the great doors creaked open, and Daniel appeared, barefoot and trembling. "Chica!" he cried, his young voice breaking the night. Chica's hand shook, torn between the love that Daniel offered so purely and the wealth his heart craved so desperately. The masked man's words slithered through his thoughts. Inherit, inherit, inherit. He wanted to scream, to run, to seize everything at once, brotherhood and riches, love and power. But greed does not share. Greed consumes. The intruder vanished back into the shadows, leaving behind the chilling promise, "Your father's debt is not yet paid." Daniel rushed to Chica's side, clutching his arm with the innocent trust of a brother who would never betray him. And Chica, trembling, looked past him to the golden-lit windows of the mansion, his heart torn in two. He could feel the truth clawing at him. Love asked him to protect, but greed whispered he was destined to possess. And in the end, it was greed's whisper that lingered longest in the night air. Thank you so much for watching this story till the end. Your time and support mean the world, and it's what keeps this channel alive. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who loves good stories, and don't forget to subscribe so you can join us for the next one. Until then, stay inspired, stay creative, and keep the love for storytelling alive.